Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 6 of our TCW Save in TW 2020. This is our Malice and Wonderland preview. And again, if you're watching the series here and you haven't watched my other ones, I'd like to do a little preview of each pay-per-view card before we jump into it. Kind of get you a little more hyped for the show. I know you've watched the TV or play out on each of the episodes of Total Wrestling, but it gives you a little more feel of what you can expect at the pay-per-view, and we kind of go into things a little bit more moving forward. And so that's kind of what we do with these previews. They're sort of short and sweet, and not a lot to really, kind of sink your teeth into just yet in this series because we've only had 4 TV shows. But these previews will get a little more in depth as we move forward because we'll have some backstory to work with and all that stuff. But we look at the Malice and Wonderland card, and you can see some of the matches that I've already announced, in addition to some of the matches that are going to be on here that we did not announce. And like I said, this is basically the Clash of the Champions type style. So you're going to get kind of some, bonus matches on the card that have not been announced. So one of those, Benny and the Fox, Benny Benson, and Flying Jimmy Fox are going to take on Maverick and Troy Tornado. That is a special tag team match we're going to have on the card. So Benson, of course, coming off of the loss on Total Wrestling to Greg Gage in that TV title match, very hard-fought match. So Benny and Fox are going to team up again here to take on Maverick and Troy Tornado. So that's a special tag team showcase match we'll have on the card, as well as, let's look at another one that we did not announce, and it's going to be Greg Gage taking on Dean Daniels. And this is not going to be for the television championship because I'm sticking to what it says in, kind of the lore, I guess you could say, of TCW. Only ever defended on TV. So you're going to wonder how I'm going to be able to work around that sometimes when it comes to the pay-per-views. But for now, I'll say that I'm not going to hold myself to this in the future because eventually I may just say, you know what, we need this TV championship match on the pay-per-view. For this pay-per-view, I'm not going to have Greg Gage defending his television championship, but he is going to face none other than Dean Daniels here, the veteran nearing retirement, and not for the championship, but if Daniels wins, of course, he gets a shot at Greg Gage. And I know some of these matches you guys are going to look at and feel like, I know the winners and all that, but it is going to be more about kind of the story behind it. And who knows, maybe some angles surrounding some of these matches. So that is what we have for now on this. So that is another match that's added to the card. Greg Gage versus Dean Daniels, not for the television title, but Greg Gage in action at the pay-per-view. All right, this one right here, don't worry. It's not going to be Matt Hawkins versus Freddie Huggins. So if you've already looked at that and said, oh boy, he's giving away the challenger for the M-Hawk, not the case. Because I just put this here as a placeholder. It's going to be Matt Hawkins versus someone else. And we will see who accepts the open challenge for the M-Hawk as Freddie Huggins is pushing it. Freddie, as we talked about in the previous episode, he knows he's not going to wrestle because Aaron Andrews is too much of a coward to face him. As Freddie continues to tell us, but Matt Hawkins, though, will be in action, and he'll accept the challenge from someone. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be someone in TCW, someone outside of TCW? Who is it? We don't know, but we'll find out at Malice in Wonderland. All right, let's talk about some of the matches we've already discussed. Doc Hammond and Bart Biggins. As Doc, part of the Syndicate, Bart Biggins has kind of joined in on the babyface brigade against all those who have wronged Aaron Andrews, which is the Syndicate. And so we've had these two kind of squaring off in a couple different angles in recent weeks. So Doc Hammond, Bart Biggins, one-on-one match there for that. Also, kind of factoring into that same category is T-Bone Bright taking on Chris Flynn. Flynn, the muscle behind the Syndicate. T-Bone has been on a winning streak here recently, and that all kind of started the whole Freddie Huggins issue with Aaron Andrews. But T-Bone, again, has been someone, he seems to be one of the rising stars in TCW, but he's got to go up against the muscle of the Syndicate and Chris Flynn. How will that play out? Will there be any Syndicate involvement in the match? We will find out there on that. All right, elsewhere, another Syndicate match. The Syndicate, of course, they're all represented here on this pay-per-view, and we'll talk about the main event here in a second, but it's going to be the Elite, Eddie Chandler and Nate Johnson, taking on Divine Fortune. And some of the storylines, I told you guys I was going to keep the starting storyline. So I've done that, but I've sort of evolved some of these to this point now. So we have, this group here. In all honesty, I should probably just go ahead and add T-Bone to the mix here, kind of in this Elite versus Divine Fortune. Maybe just sort of the mixture. But, we do have Andrews versus Hawkins, which has been played up given the beatdown Chord and Sammy Bach, which continues to kind of be pushed, even though these two are not wrestling on the card. So I haven't really changed any of this yet. After the pay-per-view, you'll start to see a few more changes to actually moving some storylines around, adding some things to the mix. But for now, we're kind of leaving it as is. So 58 for the storyline heat for the Elite versus Divine Fortune, a grudge match, tag team style, here on the pay-per-view, as we'll see if Divine Fortune can take down the Elite of TCW here on that. Elsewhere, we've got the match that is all about respect, apparently, because Chord is having to go one-on-one with Danny Fonzarelli, and Chord made it clear on the previous episode of Total Wrestling that he thinks this is a total lack of respect for him having to face Danny Fonzarelli instead of moving a step closer to his destiny of winning the TCW World Championship. But we know Aaron Andrews out of action, so Wolf not the only person aiming for Aaron Andrews right now. Chord also wants a piece of that title. Freddie Huggins won't stop calling him out. So poor Aaron Andrews dealing with an injury of some sort, out indefinitely, but he's got multiple people who are lining up to try to get a piece of him, it seems. But Chord not happy with this opponent choice of Danny Fonzarelli, who's not won a match in a century, it seems. I'm just kidding. I don't know if it's been a century, but he's lost a lot of matches. But yet Danny, very positive here. He thinks he's going to be able to turn things around. He's got quite a challenge ahead of him to do it against Chord. We'll see if he can do that. But that is a very interesting match. I think you'll want to keep that one circled for sure. All right, looking elsewhere, we've got the Tag Team Championship match, as it will be Mighty Meaty, Mo and Tana going up against the Behemoths. So the Center Society trying to do their thing. I clicked on the wrong thing here. Storyline. So where's the beef? This is, of course, part of the Where's the Beef storyline. 68 on the storyline heats. We've done a pretty good job with this one so far. But we are going to have the champions try to get, hold on to those championships against a former pair of tag team champions in Mo and Tana. So Killer Shark and Titan defending the titles against Mo and Tana. We saw Eddie Pete get involved for the first time in terms of the physicality on the most recent episode of Total Wrestling. So that is going to be perhaps important to note here. The championship's on the line. DQs have really been what it's been all about for the Behemoths and the Center Society. Will they try to do that to perhaps keep their championships? We will find out at the pay-per-view. Before I go to the main event, I just want to note there may be one more match added. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to put this one on the card or hold it off to the next Total Wrestling. So if you're saying someone's not on here you think should be on here, there is one match I'm contemplating. So just keep that in mind. We'll see if it shows up on the card or if I hold it off to Total Wrestling. It's going to depend on a little bit of an angle idea that I have in mind. So, all right, our main event is going to be Sammy Bach, Wolf Hawkins, one-on-one. We know all of this has sort of come out of the situation with Aaron Andrews, the Syndicate, the brutal attack on him a couple weeks ago, out indefinitely. And Sammy Bach has sort of come to the rescue for his friend Aaron Andrews. And Bach has taken aim at the leader of the Syndicate. And so that has kind of put all of this in motion to have this one-on-one match between Wolf and Sammy Bach. Like I said, just having these two as separate, I get it. I suppose, in a sense, combine all this into one storyline. Maybe I will do that because there is kind of some overlap here when you think about it. But for now, like I said, I'm just going to kind of keep things there. Yeah, you probably know we're not finished with Chord and Sammy Bach, and we're not finished with Aaron Andrews and Wolf Hawkins. But for now, it's going to be kind of a pairing there of Wolf and Bach. I'm really looking forward to the main event because I think it's going to do really well. Two of our top stars going one-on-one here. So I think that's going to be very clear. That match should do well from a rating standpoint. And so we'll see what happens as see if Sammy can perhaps get some revenge on the heels here. But like I said, this is a Syndicate show because they're all represented here. We've got, a big match in terms of the tag team championships. We got a couple grudge matches, and then the big one for the main event with Sammy Bach and Wolf Hawkins. So there's your card for Malice in Wonderland, the next event on our schedule here, the first one in our series as we head towards that pay-per-view. And before we get there, quickly, while we have it, usually we only do this at various points, but it is worth noting USPW had their Stars, Stripes, and Slams report. So if you want to get a quick background on that did an 82. So can we do an 82? I don't know. We'll see what happens with some of these. These matches I don't expect to be great, but I do think our main event will carry some things. So Rich Money still the USPW World Championship, beats Rick Law and Tyson Bane to retain the title. So if you were curious about that, that is what happened there with everything. So they get an 82, 50,000 in attendance, 11 million viewers That's a lot of people watching a professional wrestling show. But they also get a new TV show in the process, USPW Lifeblood, Saturdays. So, that's good for USPW, getting another TV show. They got some pull there at the top. Us catching them is going to be a challenge for sure. So there you go. That's the state of USPW. That is the card for Malice in Wonderland. Our first step towards world domination. We'll see how good the pay-per-view does and if we can continue to move things forward for TCW. So, as always, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I appreciate the great feedback, as always. Always love the discussion with you guys in the comments, so keep them coming. And on the next episode of our TCW Save, it will be Malice in Wonderland.